Hello and welcome back to the E-Tribe. This is Isar Meitis, your host. The person you were listening to is no other than the one and only Gregg Gifford, who is an international SEO expert. He's a speaker on many big conferences about SEO, and we're totally going to geek about SEO from A to Z, really from a very high level of how it works, what you need to look for, things you need to pay attention to, all the way to a step-by-step which tool to use, how to use them, what to focus on in order to rank well on Google, and more importantly, grow your business as a result of that. So let's get started. Brilliant. Where do I go to figure out what keywords I want to rank for?
So you're going to need to use some tools.
Which tools?
Now, Google AdWords has what they call keyword planner that's going to give you some general information. That's free to use as long as you just set up an account. That's decent, but I like tools that are specifically meant for keyword research a little bit better. I tend to really enjoy using and think the results are great from SEMrush. It's a really great tool. There's a lot of really cool things you can do at a basic level. If you don't really know SEO, it's really helpful. And if you do know SEO, or if you've gotten more advanced with the tool, you can go down some really crazy rabbit holes and get some awesome information.
Is there a free tool that does a good job in looking at such data? Because SEMrush is really, like you said, that's the freaking Cadillac, but it's $100 a month.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. If you want to really do good keyword research, you're not really going to be able to use a free tool that's going to tell you that sort of data.
Got it.
Now, sure, you could manually go search Google and see what your competitors might be showing up for, but that's going to rely on you knowing what keywords to search for.
Yeah.
The cool thing about SEMrush, or there's other tools out there that are similar, where all you have to do is drop in your competitor's URL and the tool's going to tell you what they're doing. So yeah, you got to spend some money, but it's money that's well spent. And that's part of the reason I like SEMrush, is because there's so many different things that tool set does. So, we're talking about keyword research now, but you have to do link research, and you've got to do optimizations on your site. And all of these various things can be handled by the various areas of that all-encompassing tool set there. So that's why, if you're going to have to spend some money, typically that's probably going to be one of the better places to go. But one of the things that I like to tell people to start with, especially if they're not really familiar with the process, is there's a lot of different areas of the tool set and a lot of different things that the tools do. But one of the main kind of analysis tools is you can drop in the URL for a website and get an organic analysis or a paid search analysis. Now, if you're working in a vertical that you have competitors that are running paid search, even if you're not, I love to take the shortcut of letting your competitors do a lot of the work for you. So drop your competitors in and do a paid search analysis on your competitors. If you're going to try to take the shortcut of letting them do the work, you have to either know that they're doing good SEO, or you have to know that one competitor just dominates all search results and shows up really well, which may not be the case. But if somebody's running ads, that someone has done some research on what sort of ads those are, because you have to pay for that sort of placement in Google. So if you go run that paid search analysis report for several competitors that are running paid search, you can just download all those results and boom, you got a list that you can compile of these are the important keywords these guys are going after. And if you're going to do it on several people, you're going to see overlap where you've got duplicates. That's a very clear clue that those are the terms that you should go after. One of the things about SEMrush is cool is you can list a couple of keywords and it's going to start providing suggestions of other keywords. But the important piece of the tool is whenever you kind of start to have this list, whether you're going to use a keyword research tool to give you some ideas, or whether you're going to piggyback off of competitors' ads or whatever, you can feed in this list of keywords and it's going to give you some sort of metric to tell you how difficult that keyword is. And that's going to give you a point of comparison to see how easy is it going to be to show up for this keyword phrase. Because if you're trying to show up for pickup, that's insanely competitive because it's so broad. But if you're looking for black Ford F-150 pickup in Dallas, well, then that's going to be a lot more honed in on the specific thing. And that's, that's the long tail versus short tail. So for anybody that hasn't heard of it before, a short tail keyword is a either single or just a couple word phrase that's very broad. As you start adding more keywords onto it, it becomes what's called a longer tail phrase. And it's the volume curve is like an inverse hockey stick. It starts lots and lots of searches. And as soon as you start adding additional words and honing in on a more specific phrase, that search volume really drops out. Now, sure, everybody would want to go for the phrase that has tons and tons of searches, but everybody's going to go for those. So sometimes you can get a lot more value instead of putting all your eggs in the basket of let's go after the 5 biggest keyword phrases that we could possibly go after, but those are really competitive and it takes a lot of time and effort. Maybe you go for 20 or 30 of the longer tail phrases that a lot of people aren't going for, and you can get really good visibility faster. And typically with the longer tail stuff, a lot of times you'll see a higher conversion percentage. So you could show up easier and get more conversions sooner, which then helps you keep your job. If you're running a business and you're wanting to start doing keyword research, well, you've already got the business side handled. You're already selling that product or service. You know there's demand.
Yes.
Just because a keyword research tool tells you, hey, nobody's searching for this phrase, that doesn't mean anything. So let's say you sell blue widgets, just to make it generic. Widgets, very, very short tail. Could be gazillions of search queries. Blue widgets gets a little bit more specific. But if you use that keyword research tool and you look for the phrase, where can I buy a blue widget in Plano, Texas, that tool is probably going to say there's 0 volume. Maybe there's only 10 people a month that search that phrase, where can I buy a blue widget, or where to buy, or variations of a specific intent of, I want to buy a blue widget in this city pretty much right now. The tool might tell you there's no volume for that. And even if there's only 10 a month, if you show up number 1 for that and there's only 10 a month, you're probably going to get 60, 70, 80% of those people, which means for your business, it's probably not that difficult to show up for that phrase. You could probably throw a page up and show up pretty quickly and not have to worry about link building and internal link architecture and all this other stuff that you typically have to worry about. Then you get visibility and boom, pretty quickly, you're getting 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 sales a month that you weren't getting before. So that's where I kind of mentioned earlier, you got to decide, do you want to go after that kind of just core group of really important phrases that people are searching for, or do you want to maybe go for a bunch of longer tail phrases that are more purchase intent oriented, that have a lot less competition because they're those longer tail phrases? But sure, maybe it's a small volume, but in aggregate, you do a bunch of those and you can get way better results way faster than if you're trying to go for those big ones.
Another very practical question. We obviously now have a list. The list was created by 2 things. One, me looking for different keywords and kind of tagging the ones I think I want to rank for.
Yep.
The other is looking at the competitors by looking at the website. Now I have a list. How do I prioritize? How do I decide which one I go for first?
Well, that's where too, as a marketer, you've got to talk to either the business owner if you're on the agency side, or if you're in-house or it's your own business. It's not just about, let me go do some keyword research, figure out which ones are important and go after those. It's also aligning your marketing initiatives with your business goals. Let's use basket weaving, because underwater basket weaving just made me laugh. So there's 4 phrases there that are a specific long tail that maybe everything else is telling you these are easier to rank for, or these are harder to rank for, but cheaper, or this will, you use tools to figure out what the search demand is, blah, 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 blah. But on your side, even though this may be the least search demand, and according to all of the metrics, probably isn't something you want to go after, but on your side, if you do that underwater basket weaving bachelorette party, you make 5 times as much profit off of it. So that's what you want to go after. So you have to align it with business goals too, and think about, in the end, everything related to SEO. It's not about ranking for a keyword. Now you have to do keyword research to get ranking and visibility, to drive traffic, to drive business, but you don't want to have that end result in your head of, I just need to show up in Google. The end result is generating business, getting leads, getting phone calls. So it's about looking at everything in a big picture of, when you're prioritizing, I need to prioritize the thing that's going to make me the most money the soonest.
Okay.
Or prioritize, it may take longer to get there, but once I get there, it's making me the most money.
First of all, I want to ask a clarification question. So I have that one main page with the keyword I really want to rank for. The others are things that are related that
Yep.
people would search for. Do I link them all back to that one page?
For sure. Yeah. Your internal linking is actually a really important thing. And actually, I just saw something on Twitter today that Google just released. I didn't read it, but they just released either a blog post or there was an interview or something. Google has flat out explicitly said the way that you link internal pages on your site gives us insight into what you think is most important on your site and into what is most important on your site. So that's where now one of the things that I always have to tell people is you don't want to link to every page on your website from every other page on your website. Your internal link structure should look like a pyramid. You've got the home page that leads to several primary pages, and each of those lead to several detailed pages about that, and each of those lead to extremely detailed pages. You know, a car dealership would be a better example in this case. At a car dealership, you've got three main business centers. You're selling cars, you're servicing cars, repairing cars, or you're selling auto parts. So on your home page, that's really the only three things you need to link to. Do you want to buy a car? Do you want to get your car fixed? Or do you want to get parts for your car? Once a user starts going down that path, you don't need to link to the other things anymore. Once I start saying, hey, I'm here to buy a car, don't give me links to getting my car fixed because I've already told you by where I am on your site, I want to buy this car. Now, car dealers are going to say, well, yeah, but if it's a service customer, I want to try to flip that service customer that's coming in to fix their really old car and say, hey, look, man, you could buy this car. It's a really good deal. And sure, in the real world, dealing with people, that's an opportunity. But if somebody's on your site, it doesn't make sense to start linking to all of these service specials and oil change specials and service things you can do if somebody's down that path of buying a car. And if somebody's down the path of buying auto parts, they probably have the skill set to be able to service the car themselves. So you don't want to be like, oh, you're looking at oil filters. Well, come here. We can do your oil change for you, because if that's what they wanted, that's where they would have gone. So that's why you have that kind of pyramid structure. Once you go down in one direction, all of those pages should be interlinked to kind of always kind of feed upward to say, this is the important area of the site. This is the important concept. Something a lot of business owners need to understand is everything on your site doesn't have to revolve around getting somebody to buy right now.
Sure.
There's a lot of value in that non-revenue generating content that's just purely informational, because if everything on your site was related to, this is information for somebody that wants to buy my product or service right now, that's a really narrow focus on the potential local audience, because you're not going to show up in search results unless somebody's looking to buy your stuff right now.
Yeah.
So when you share those informational posts, like here's 10 cool activities for bachelorette parties in Orlando, maybe somebody will end up converting off that. But the person that's looking for that is looking for something cool and unique to do on their bachelorette party. Sure, you'd like to convert that person down the road, but they're not going to immediately call you after they read that post. They're going to talk to their friends about it and go, oh, yeah, that's cool, whatever, and then call you back. Then you can do stuff that's just completely not related. Here's 10 cool things to do in Orlando. And you don't even talk about yourself, but you're just creating an informational, useful, relevant post for people in the area. It's kind of like putting a billboard up on the freeway. Somebody's going to drive by that billboard. They don't need to get an underwater basket weaving class, but you have a really cool, goofy billboard up with me on it going, oh, you know, with the scuba gear on or whatever it is. And they see that billboard and then they're like, oh, cool, Greg's underwater basket weaving. That sounds awesome, whatever. But, you know, they're not needing it. 2 months later, they're like, man, I need something cool to do with my wife this weekend. Oh, there's that underwater basket weaving class. I'm going to call those guys. So it's that brand awareness play, like a billboard. There's a lot of value in putting content like that up on your site. Now, you have to do it the right way and don't just put a bunch of junk content up. You got to put up stuff that people are going to look for. But there's value in that content that's not like, hey, buy from me right now, buy from me right now. If your entire site is, you know, especially when we're talking about blogs where, you know, typically your site pages are going to be the more direct. Here's exactly what my products and services are. Here's the value of those products and services. Here's why I'm awesome as a business. Then your blog posts are going to be the more kind of longer tail focused, more informational type stuff. There's value in that. And you have to understand that if all you did was talk about, here's what I sell, here's what I sell. I sell this, I sell this, I sell this. Why is anybody going to read that stuff? Nobody's going to care.